my seat and was just like, oh my God, like, can you not even mention Christmas right now? There's just still so much that we need to achieve. But 2020, the year in itself, I mean, my partner and I, Case, 2019, we sat there and went, 2020 is going to be the best year of our lives. Like, we had so much to look forward to. We were getting married in March. We had a 2-month honeymoon to Europe. We had my cousin's wedding, a wedding in Byron Bay, a wedding in Noosa, another trip here, there, and everywhere. And it kind of felt like all the years of hard work had culminated to this year where work and private life, all the sacrifices we'd made to get to where we were, 2020 was the year. And then in reality, 2020 has just been if we thought all the years before that were challenging and that this was the year that was all going to reap the rewards, man, were we wrong. So COVID had other plans for the wedding. So obviously the wedding's gone. We rescheduled that twice and then now rescheduled twice, which for a stressed bride or bride-to-be, rescheduling a wedding and then trying to work her job as a lawyer and then have me kind of not really be too involved in the process because I had no idea what was going on at the time anyway. She rescheduled the wedding twice. It's now December 2021. The honeymoon was probably the hardest thing to reschedule. You got 2 months of traveling all over Europe and booking and all. We booked it ourselves because we're idiots. And then trying to reschedule that was its own nightmare. I mean, looking all that aside, I mean, we've got good outlook on life, and it's the gratitude that we take from like the positives, like having jobs, having businesses, being surrounded by businesses that were potentially failing and doing it really tough, cafes, restaurants, gyms. It puts stuff into perspective that while in our private lives and in my world, even with a business separation on the cusp kind of later on in 2020, you still kind of were able to take a step back and go, you know what? It could be worse and it's all perspective. I mean, even I had 2 nanas pass away in 2 months and had to do 2 funerals of 10 people. And it was very sudden and unexpected. And that was in the middle of kind of the business separation as well. So yeah, 2020 as a year has just been like, holy crap. I like so much went on, but now it's November and the year's nearly over and there's still so many good things to come out of it. From that gratitude side and around team and leadership, I can hands down say that I wouldn't be here today and be energized and happy and surviving without my team because of the culture and the values and the way we operate. Back in March when all the shit went down, it didn't really disrupt the way that we flowed as a firm at all. People worked flexible hours. People had their, laptops and screens set up at home so they could work remotely anyway, even though we had offices in, Richmond, Narre, Chadstone, Blackrock, Hampton, Perth, here, there, and everywhere. People use the offices just as much as they use their homes anyway. So it didn't feel like a dramatic transition for everyone to start working from home. And meanwhile, while we thought that was going to be 4 or 5 weeks of working from home, which turned into 5, 6, 7 months, and we just started putting things in place that still made the team environment feel like the team environment, like the calls like this where you have a drink and have some lunch, sending gift boxes to our team's houses and flowers and chocolates and thank yous for all the work they're doing from home, offering to help pay for internet, extra mobile costs, like those things that we would have been providing for our team anyway, just those extra little things we could do. And that helped the team to rally around us and support us when we were doing it tough, and those days where you felt like, I don't know if I can go into work today or go to work today, which is sitting in my bedroom where the computer was just next to the bed. And it's like the overwhelm of how hard things got, but having a great team with great attitude and great mindset meant that we're able to support each other through that. And then at the same time as well, like having great partners, like even at RBK, our partnership team all supported each other. And now at Future Advisory, there's days where if I feel like I'm going to fall down, my business partners pick me back up again. And that's been a huge part of surviving 2020, I think, is your team and your partners and your family. Without that, I think we'd all have struggled a lot more than probably what we have.
Yeah. So what's the, like you mentioned quite a few things there. And while you're taking a sip of that, I will mention it because it is important. While I'm sipping on my favourite little Pinot Noir here that I like from my Weathercraft winery, Jason is also involved in a gin company, and you won an award last night.
Yeah, so this baby won the Bronze Award for at the Distilled Spirits Awards, Australian Distilled Spirits Awards last night. So have a gin company, which I should have actually included it in my little 2020 spiel of everything else that turned to shit and made 2020 a crap year. If you ever want to sell more alcohol, you
Yes.
need a global pandemic, for selling alcohol. So deathgin.com is our usual website. We'd sell, 20, 30, 40, 50 bottles every couple of weeks, and we'd distill it at a distillery in Melbourne. It was a bit of fun for a few friends that founded Death Gin. And then global pandemic hits, like 250 bottles flew off the shelf in like a fortnight. And our distillery called us and was like, what did you do? Like, how are you selling so much gin? And it was our web and SEO team just decided to run some ads with a coupon code that was like, fuck COVID-19. And I think people were just like, yeah, fuck COVID. Hang on, I like gin. Sorry, excuse my French if anyone doesn't appreciate that kind of language. But yeah, so we just ran a bit of a stupid promotion. And who would have thought that so many people hated COVID-19 and thought to buy a bottle of gin as a result of that? So that's a positive, a shining light. And then the original gin won the silver award at the Distilled Spirits last night. So yeah, nice to take something out of 2020 that was positive.
Yeah, agree, mate. And I think that's so what's the, if you sort of reflect back, and maybe you haven't even had a chance to do this, but what's the lesson that you've taken out? There's probably quite a number of different ones, but is there one that springs to mind as far as a lesson is concerned?
Yeah, I think your investment in team and culture is huge, and then communication. Like, if I didn't talk to my team and my partners and the people around me about what was going on in my life that affected me personally, and then how that affected my business, communication is everything. And especially with mental health, I think mental health is another big beast in the room and outside of the room and everywhere in Australia at the moment. That communication was huge. And then because we'd invested so heavily in our culture and our team and values within that, we'd driven that into every time we hired, every time we ran a team event, every time we talked about how we treat our clients, how our clients should treat us, our customer service. It's all centered around our values and our culture. And due to that investment, I think the transition of this whole year has been doable because of that. And that's the lesson that I learned. Is I looked at other businesses that didn't have the buy-in and the culture and their team, really rallying behind them. And I mean, JobKeeper's one where you look at a cafe that's on JobKeeper and they call one of the team members and say, hey, I want you to come in and do a shift. And that person goes, nah, can't come in that day, I'm busy. But they're happy to sit at home and take their $1,500 a fortnight JobKeeper and not go to work. Whereas, I mean, when we transitioned from RBK over to Future, we had 4 days to build the firm from scratch, just due to the way the contracting all worked and all that fun stuff that you do. And to move 3,000 clients manually from one ATO tax agent to another, because it couldn't be done in a bulk upload, I called a team meeting at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I had 14 out of the 15 team members joined the video meeting at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, and we announced that we were going to move from RBK to Future, because we weren't able to talk about it up until literally 4 days before the move happened. And 14 of the team volunteered to work the entire weekend to make it a reality that we could open the business on the 1st of September. Most of them worked 14 hours a day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I think it was the Tuesday. And it was the only way we rebuilt an entire accounting firm in 4 days. We joked about writing a book about it, but I'm talking 0 practice managers, 0 practice ignition, 100 or 200 proposals and active engagements, account kit, finance schedules, billing systems, DocuSign, HelloSign, like the whole thing, and then moving 3,000 individual clients into a new ATO portal. Insane. I sat there, I cried the day before we opened out of sheer exhaustion. I think I stayed up till 4 a.m. moving the Xero files across. And I realized we were going to open the doors at 9 a.m. on the 1st of September, and we were going to be called Future Advisory. And my web team had built a kick-ass website, and my social media team were ready to send an email communicating to our clients that, hey, don't freak out. but you're no longer called RBK. Your accountants are now called Future.
Yes.
And on the 1st of September, I sat there in the morning, I just cried. I'm like, holy shit, we did it. Like, this is actually going to work. And the email went out, and I sat there looking at my phone, like just waiting for shit to break and for things to go wrong. And then I saw the team logging on. People started messaging, jobs popped up for review, invoices started to get raised. And I'm like, hang on, like, is this really real? Like, have we just built an accounting firm in 4 days and everything's just working as it should? And naturally, it didn't work as it should. And a few days later, you realized you'd missed a few steps. But man, it was incredible. Team, culture, values, could not do it without them, and without the DNA and the core of what we'd built. It made all the difference. I don't know how many, like, I couldn't imagine what if I'd called that meeting at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning and asked my team to sit there at just volunteer a couple of hours on the weekend, and would not have expected that almost every single one of them did over 12 hours a day for 4 days to make this happen, and didn't ask for a thing. They just, on the day it opened, they're just like, everyone celebrated and we're just happy, started working. I was just like, where did I find these people? I don't even know if they're real.
That's I'm just trying to sorry, mate, there's a couple of other people.
No, you're right.
I'm going to jump in right now. One of the things I'm going to ask you is, now, you mentioned that, which is important. Obviously, there's the client mix. We all know that, and there's been a lot of other people we've had on the show as well, on these lunches that have spoken about, if you take care of your team will take care of your clients, and then your clients obviously brings in the fees, and it continues to go around. Let's just quickly work through if you were to, and I know you've started from scratch again, okay? So you started a firm from scratch, you went through 4 days of pretty intensive work, and I don't know how you even did transitioning that many clients over as well. Talk me through the thought process. So let's break down probably in terms of, because this is really important in terms of, you mentioned team before, the leadership and the strategic focus on making sure that the team were aware, the communication, the team were aware of what was going on. How did that all sort of come out? So I want to sort of break down, obviously you guys transitioned very quickly from RBK, and to be fair, RBK is still operating today, just differently.
Yeah, great fellas too, and they've got a great firm, and yeah, still talk to them, still friends. We're shooting a few funny emails to each other, cracking jokes. So Johnny actually asked, we'd left some stuff at reception the other day because they got the same, I think you want to talk about offices, but we've got offices in the same buildings now. And we moved some stuff over between reception to then end up in their office. And I got an email from Johnny. He goes, mate, if there's a severed head in one of those boxes, I'm going to be very upset with you. So still having fun. It's good to have kept a good relationship through all that, because I think a lot of people walk away from a business separation or a strategic redirection or whatever kind of fun words you want to put on it. And I mean, I've talked to plenty of business owners that have split up, and then they end up hating each other and they don't talk, and it's awkward at accounting conferences. And we just went, nah, like, if we're going to do this, we're not doing it because we don't like each other. We're doing it to make our lives easier and the direction we're heading easier, because we wanted to do things a little bit differently and go different ways. So that leads into the communication, right? So when we turn around and make these announcements to our team, I guess first and foremost, and I think a book that I recommend, which I read at this time, like during this difficult period, is Ride of a Lifetime by Robert Iger. He's the CEO of Walt Disney, and he's been the CEO of Walt Disney for a very long time. Great, and it's an amazing leadership book. And one of the things he said was it was around positivity and optimism. Now, if the leader walks down the hallway and goes, this ship's going to sink, oh, life's miserable, rah, 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 that's going to spread through the rest of your team. Now, I could have at any point in time in the lead up to that split happening gone, oh, this is so stressful, I hate this is crap, I'm going to lose half my business, rah, rah, rah. But instead, the message was always positivity and optimism about the future. And part of a play on word of why it was called Future, it was always like, well, why are we doing this? Like the why became really important. It was about the future for ourselves, the future for our team, and the future for our clients. And portraying that message to our team around change was, this change is happening. This is why, and we trust our team with the information. When we could share it, we shared it straight away. And then we talked about the future and the positive stuff and the optimism and the how going through the rough stuff now is going to lead to a really great place to work and a really great place for us, our team, and our clients in the future.
Yes.
And without doing that, I mean, if I don't share with the team what the future looks like and get their buy-in, why would they want to rock up at work at 9 o'clock the following Monday or Tuesday just to sit there and smash out a tax return or a set of financials? That's not exciting. But the exciting stuff is how we do it, why we do it, and what our clients get out of us doing our jobs. And then that future stuff of, the full circle financial package of, being their accountant, their business advisor, being close with their financial planners, mortgage brokers, web teams, social media, digital development, insurances, asset finance, the whole thing. Our whole thing is we want to have our finger on all, we want to touch all of that. We want to be involved in all of that decision making, and we can charge accordingly for that if they trust us to be that person at the center of their world. And that's what we're working towards with our clients, is that any decision that involves their future comes through us. Any decision about something tomorrow, 1 year from now, or 5 years from now, they call one of our team first to talk to us. And that's, I guess, part of why it was called Future and, everything else. But that it's paramount. I mean, the way we communicate is the positivity and optimism of the future. And especially in a time in the middle of pandemic where COVID was on and everyone was down in the dumps, it had to be, we've got so much to look forward to. Get through this week, get through those 100 JobKeeper declarations so that our clients have got money in the bank to pay their team. And even though it's shit work and we're over it and we're slammed and we're copying all these calls and emails, but imagine how good it's going to feel when our clients get that money and they can pay their team. It's just how we phrase the positivity and the optimism.
And is that something, because I know having worked with a number of firms through a number of years now, one of the things that it sounds like you're more open with your communication than closed with your communication. I think that's what other firms that I've worked with have had a challenge with, because they don't want to share information or they're scared to share information. But that also then leads to team members being in a situation where they're just unaware, so they create things themselves as opposed to understanding the facts and to why you're doing things. Has that been a big factor with the team members that have now moved to Future Advisory?
Yeah, I was worried at first about overshare, and I think some of the differences, and not speaking, don't want to speak out of turn, but some of the differences were about, I was an oversharer. I shared a lot. I shared everything. And then some other people in my firm or in firms in the past have been like, oh, do the team really need to know that information? Like, is that sharing too much? Like, do they need to know how much money we should make off them based on what we pay them? I'm like, well, yeah, it's really important. If they want to know how to get a pay rise, they've got to understand the model of how we calculate how much we can afford to pay them, as an example.
Yeah.
So then I've just gone completely the other way, like in a sense of just the more I can share and the more that I can inform and the more I can empower, it just works. I mean, we've got a new intern starting, and the internship program we run is the first couple of days the intern sits with me and I give the intern a high level overview of exactly how the firm runs, who fits what position, how you earn pay rises and get promotions, who works with what clients and why, right down to how a job comes in and gets booked in by the workflow team. And he's actually turned around at the end of his second day. He was like, wow, I never thought you would share that kind of information with me. Like, I'm just an intern. And you've told me so much about how your firm runs. I'm like, well, if you understand how the firm runs, when you're in here day to day doing your role, you get how you fit into the bigger picture and you get why we're heading the direction we're heading. So otherwise, you're going to come in some days, you're going to be bored out of your brain doing some kind of shitty task.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand how it fits in the big picture, you're going to get disgruntled and not want to be here. Yeah. So oversharing has been, and sometimes I'm sure it backfires. You get somebody who knows more than they should, and I had a couple of guys who are friends of mine go and start their own business. But at the same time, what they didn't understand is I'm all for entrepreneurism, or however you say the word. I'd wish they'd actually come and talk to me and said, Jace, we want to run our own firm. Thanks for inspiring us and sharing so much about how to run a business. We now feel like we can go off and do that ourselves. Yeah. I wish they'd had the balls to have that conversation and let me know. The same way I told Brent, a year in advance before leaving Seaver and starting RBK, I went and told Brent, like, hey man, I want to run my own firm. I don't want to work as an employee forever. So that open communication too, now having that is I've, after the two guys left, I got whoever was left in the team and went, guys, if you ever want to go and start your own business, I hope I'm the first guy you come and talk to, because I will help you. I'll help you start your own accounting firm. I'll help you run your own business. If you want to start a gin company, let me help you do that too. Like whatever it is, like, and breeding that entrepreneurship inside an accounting firm. Like you look at Blue Rock, right? You model the masters. Blue Rock, 10 years in accounting, 180 staff, like 12 different divisions. But one thing they have is that a lot of their accountants and senior accountants and directors are entrepreneurs who have multiple businesses.
Yes.
Do you like, and then I kind of think about like, well, you want someone who understands business. Like if you're going to go to an accountant for business advice, you want to make sure that accountant runs a good firm, like has a good business. That's the person you want to get business advice from.
Yep.
So yeah, always been something that kind of plays on the mind in that area.
Yeah, very true. And if you're Melbourne based and you haven't had a chance to get to the Blue Rock offices, get up there and have a look. It's a very interesting way that they've set up their offices. And we won't go into that right now. But mate, you've just mentioned one thing there that I might share with a few people. And you mentioned the term intern. It's probably something that doesn't get thrown around in an accounting firm too much. You'd probably find it in a tech company, but not in an accounting firm. So maybe just share, what does quickly, because I want to sort of get through the rest of the stuff we've got to work through, but what does an intern do? And more importantly, how much do you pay an intern?
Good question. So the intern, what we've kind of put together is a bit of a fast track of understanding an accounting firm or an advisory firm and how it works. So the general flow will be, it depends whether they're working 2 days a week or full time, whether they're still at university or not. But let's say in a 4-week period, if we're fast tracking it full time, which is what Nath is doing at the moment, it'll be a couple of days with me to learn how to run the business and what I do. Because I think if somebody understands the sheer amount of bullshit that we go through day to day to run a firm, they'll have an appreciation of when they come in, working hard to make my life easier, which is kind of every single intern that then progresses to a grad or a junior accounting position. They work their guts out to make sure the directors of this firm have an easier life. And if they can't understand that in a way or show that they want to do that, they probably won't end up making it. Unfortunately, in the training. So start off with the director, then we flow them through understanding how the admin team works and why the admin team is an absolute core of our business. I think a lot of times in past accounting firms, even like pre, the admin team was kind of seen as a bit of an afterthought. Like, oh, they just handle the packages and the phone calls and they'll do some emails or whatever. And I'm like, every time somebody comes in, I'm like, without the admin team, they are the core of our business. If they aren't firing and succeeding, our business falls over. So I want any new person to the business to respect and love the admin team, because just like I do, I mean, they're my absolute bloody rock. They go through the bookkeeping team. They'll work a couple of days or a week with the bookkeeping team. They'll sit with some of the junior accountants, intermediate, seniors, and then come back to me or one of the other directors at the end of their intern program. It's $50 a day because technically they're not employed. You have an internship contract. They are sitting back, absorbing knowledge. They're taking notes on how to do things, but I can't let them physically do billable work that I can charge for, because that breaks the internship kind of contract and makes them, they should be an employee charging. I should be charging for that, So it's we generally run it if it's 12 weeks, 2 days a week, or 4 weeks full time. But my most impressive, hardest working accountants now, 3 or 4 years on, all started through the intern program. And they are just absolute weapons. Like the years of development that we've put into them, invested heavily, but you're talking, you got a grad or a junior who starts on quite a, average salary, talking 40, 50 grand, and then it's 50, 60, 60, 70, 70, 80. But 4 years of learning, living, breathing, and absorbing our culture, they are insane. They're weapons. Like they're so good. And I'm blessed to have them in the business, but also I guess from them, Nate's sitting there going, thank you so much for investing in me. Like giving him $50 a day and teaching him how to work in an accounting firm. He's going, this is the best opportunity ever. I'm so glad I chose to come and work with you. So yeah.
When they're at that age, I know even at C2, we had a couple of interns now, and one of them's gone on to be a full-time employee now. Their energy and their enthusiasm is up here for what they get rewarded for. And it's not, they get paid this much, but their enthusiasm's this much. It's quite amazing that what they do, because it sort of lifts everybody else.
Yeah, one of the guys that started, it was actually his 1 year anniversary. So internal team and culture wise, every 1 year anniversary, 2 year anniversary, birthdays, everything's celebrated. So we've got a schedule and a calendar. It's booked into all of the directors' calendars when an anniversary is. And it popped up that it was one of the guys' 1 year anniversary. And I was like, man, like it feels like just the other day he was an intern, like, the hungriest, hardest working intern. He would get to the office, he would message me and ask me what time I'd be at the office, and he would beat me there. And then even if I stayed till 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m., he would sit there and not leave. And I'm like, man, you got to go home. He goes, if you're here, I'm here helping you. I was like, man, I don't know what I did to deserve you come into my life, but and then after the 4 weeks of interning, where this kid was my shadow, like he wouldn't leave me. And I thought, he listened to every phone call. He learned how I spoke, how I sold, what worked and what didn't work. He sponged. At the end of the 4 weeks, we'd actually already hired 3 people in quick succession. And I took him on as an intern as a favor to a friend who was like, man, just give my cousin a chance. And I was like, man, I don't have any positions. She goes, oh, we'll just give him the internship, write him a reference and send him on his way. So it's like, cool. Get to the end of the 4 weeks. And I'm like, I'm just going to make a role. I'll bleed money out of my own pocket if I have to have this kid stay, because I wanted him in the business, but I offered him a part-time role. Right. I remember I was sitting in an office just over there. I remember it like it was yesterday, but it was 1 year ago last week. And I told him, man, I'm going to hire you, but you're going to start part-time. It's nearly Christmas, have a couple of days off, spend it with your missus, whatever. And I remember he leant forward on his chair and he just looked at me and he went, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I can do to get a full-time job with you and I'll do it. I'll do anything to work with your company. And I was just like, far out. I don't created a monster here, or, and he already had that in him. And a year on, I think what he's achieved in a year is equivalent to what I've seen some 3rd and 4th year accountants do.
Yep. And the amazing part about that is, and I think as employers, we all want to
say it, Taz.
We all want to have the right people with the right attitude. End of the day, you can have the best technical skills, but if you've got the poorest attitude, that's not going to be the sort of person that you want. So you want people with the right attitude, because they can learn. People that want to learn and people that want to be sponges can learn big time. So I love hearing that. And you spoke about mentors and role models before as well. I'd love to get back to that if we have time. But mate, starting a firm from scratch, and I know you came from Seaver and then you had RBK, and starting a firm from scratch with a blank canvas, and you've done this. So for other firms, just in terms of just feeding a little bit of knowledge, thought process, I don't think maybe a lot of people get the opportunity to do that. What did you do differently in terms of, let's talk technology for a second, because you spoke about Xero and you spoke about, and I know you were a massive Xero fan, so it's good to see you stuck with them. You spoke about PI just then. So what else have you gone with? I know different firms have got different ideas of things, but if you got to start again, you've got the ability to also say, no, I was going to swear then, I won't use that because it was good, but it didn't actually promise what it said it was going to promise. So what did you end up going with it at Future Advisory?
Oh, it's interesting, and at RBK, we were very tech and forward focused on all of that. So there basically whatever RBK.
Sure.
Pardon?
What I Greg is.
Yeah, Greggy loves it. So the technology we use at RBK, basically to transition over quickly in that 4 days, it was copy paste. But then what ended up happening, and part of the I guess the announcement and that talking with the team was, yes, we've started again with all the same shit, but do not think we need to keep it or keep doing the same thing. And it was to empower the team to go, if anything you use you don't think works well, or anything you've seen on the market you think is better. Like we took the entire team to Xerocon last year. We invested on flying, I think we ended up with 18 at the time, bought all their Xerocon tickets, flights to Brisbane, accommodation. And we told them, this is your firm now. Like this is your business. You care about it. Go and find the best of the best software. And if you think it's going to make your life better and our firm better and our clients better, grab it. Let's do it. But what ended up happening was we found a whole bunch of stuff and we bought it and we implemented 10, 20, 30, 40% of the capability of what that software did. So the rollover to future was, if we're using 30% of what AccountKit can do, let's call Paul at AccountKit and get him booked in to do team training for the entire team to find out what aren't we using that we should be that's going to make our life better. Because you see the subscription column in your own firm's P&L, and you're paying subscriptions for all sorts of stuff that only gets used a little bit. Other ones are like, Clarity HQ, like a business advisory kind of tool where it's got a business university that I can't be the only business advisor in the firm. Otherwise, we can't scale and we can't grow. So it's how do I educate my next tier of senior accountants and other accountants to become business advisors? And they can't sit in every meeting with me, but we can do business university through like a Clarity HQ. Practice Protect is a no-brainer. I mean, that ability to have that protection of the entire firm and have all the passwords secured so that, Nath comes in, he gets one username, one password, he can access everything, but he doesn't actually know his underlying password to the 20 bits of tech that he needs to use every day.
Yes.
That's the things like Slack. We actually looked at getting off Slack because Microsoft had Microsoft Teams. And we went, well, why would we pay thousands of dollars to have Slack if we can use Teams? And we moved everything back to Teams for a couple of weeks and the team just went, it doesn't feel right. Like there's something about it that doesn't feel right. So we've now gone back to Slack because the flow of communication in the team, the channels, even the silly stuff like being able to use GIFs and send GIFs of just stupid stuff that keeps a bit of energy and excitement. So, but it's also empowering the team to make decisions on our technology as well. So while we did transition a lot across, we've chopped a few things. Spotlight was one that you'd pay hundreds of dollars a month but use it for like 5 sets of management reports out of the 300 or 400 groups of clients. But then we've got Futurely or this or that, and it was like, well, let's chop them, go back to the drawing board and figure out what works best and then jump back on. So it's a bit of a fact-finding mission at the moment. I mean, I'm trialing a few different things and so are the team. And while it wasn't a blank canvas, one of the things that happened was, even though RBK is only a couple of years old, we had legacy stuff from RBK, which sounds weird to have legacy from a cloud accounting firm to another cloud accounting firm, but it was just a way around structure. So we were very siloed. We had teams that worked like a director, and you had a team of accountants and a portfolio of clients, and you had all these different silos. Whereas I look at that and go, if a couple of my team go on annual leave and I get a bulk of work come in, how do I grab some other director's team member to come and work with me? Like, how does that all flow? So we're trying to reinvent the wheel on that from a very flat structure of how we all load up the team with work to do, how the job reports work. It's been an interesting 2.5 months. I can't believe it's 2.5 months already, but with anything with tech, it's just understanding how you use and getting buy-in from the team. Because if the team are only using a small percentage of it, it's not working. You got to understand why it doesn't work for them.
Yeah, good. And I think that's that's been a pretty consistent message that you've sort of gone through, whether it be the communication with the ability to continually talk to the team about what works, what doesn't work. And we're right. We look at our P&L, unfortunately, and we see all the different expenses, and they are tech subscriptions here and there. And it is important to assess what value are we receiving from it, and if we're not, let's work out how we should be using it, and then we can make a different decision to say, should we be using it?
On tech, some of the stuff that we do use that might be different from other accounting firms, to give a bit of an insight into that, is a new client signs up on our website, for example, that will send notifications to a Trello board. It'll pull the information the client signed up with and create a card on Trello. That Trello card will then tag our admin team and myself to let me know that a new client has signed up for a call or a job to be done. That Trello board then sends a message to Slack, sending a notification saying, hey, just in case you want to jump on this quickly, you've got a new client who wants to talk to you. So from the speed of jumping on a new client lead, for example, in the first month of when we rolled over to Future Advisory, we signed $45,000 in new work. in the first month when I said that we shouldn't sign any new work because we're too busy rebuilding the firm. I've got a problem with being able to say no.
Oh.
Yeah, and the only way that's possible is the systems and processes and tech that allow new clients to feed themselves into the business. So when that person signs up on the website, they actually don't realize they're adding themselves to Xero Practice Manager. So the API pushes their information into Practice Manager and creates a prospect, which then if I call them and say, yep, what do you need done? We can be your accountant. All cool. It's going to be this much. I'll send you a PI. We can convert that client from a lead to a client, sync it to PI, they sign and accept, thousands of dollars hit the bank account. We're already paid up front before we do anything. And that's the only way you can onboard clients ongoing all day, every day, week by week without breaking your firm and breaking your people, is to make that process automated.
You made an interesting point there. So there's probably a lot of different good points here. I know it's 12:48 and I'm going to keep going. So hopefully everyone's okay to keep going here. Pay up front. Now, there's not a lot of accounting firms that get clients to pay up front. I know while Practice Ignition has allowed us to, whether it's a pay on completion monthly, and a lot of people may choose the monthly. You just spoke about pay up front, which means cash flow in your business is a lot stronger as opposed to running lockup or debtors, which makes it weaker. Tell us about that. How much of a courage pill was that, and how do clients respond to that?
Yeah, interesting. It's because it's a little bit unheard of. It does come down to that communication. So I think as well, having the confidence that, and it takes time. I mean, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I would have been going, oh yeah, cool, you can fix that one up when we're done. Just enter in, still would have been BSB and account number or credit card needed, but it might have been more of a bill on completion.
Yes.
Now it's a minimum, like deposit up front, deposit on completion, depending on the work. If we don't know anyone from a bar of soap, it'll be a pay up front if it's a bigger consulting style work. Hard. It's a hard thing to sell to yourself from a confidence point of view, let alone selling it to your team and then selling it to the person that wants to come on board, because they may have already contacted 2 or 3 other accounting firms that were willing just to hit the ground running and get the job done, send them an invoice with 14-day terms, then they take 28 days to pay it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the confidence of going, no, mate, we know what we're doing. We know we're damn good at it. I can have that job done for you by this date, and that'll be done exactly 5 days after you accept and pay.
Yes.
And it might be another week or 2 later before they accept, because what they'll do is they'll go back and interview the others and go, oh, when are you going to get the job done? They won't have the confidence and the sell that they've copped. And most of the time they come back and accept the terms. But it's the confidence. It's the confidence to do that and to, just hit them between the eyes and say, this is how we work. This is why we work that way.
Love it. Love it. Now I'm going to open it up very quickly. People, has anyone got a question that they'd like to ask Jason? We've covered a fair bit of stuff there, whether it be from a marketing point of view to interns to, we probably didn't get a chance to get to the importance of the role models and the mentors, but anyone got a question they'd like to just unmute yourself? I'm looking in the, hey guys, I need to go. Okay. Thanks, Emma.
Thanks, Emma.
Anyone got a question they'd like to ask Jason?
Yes.
There you go, Derek.
You said you got $45,000 worth of new clients. How do you attract so many clients? Is it you have superb SEO or?
Good question.
Do it without a huge advertising budget.
Good question. And look, that was something we didn't track at the start, and it made it so difficult to not track that, because all of a sudden we had more clients than we knew what to do with, and I hadn't hired team members to fill the capacity. So we put in with Xero Practice Manager, we've got custom fields that you can fill in. So part of the process on the checklist when the admin team or any team member adds a new client is you can't add a new client without putting in the date the client was added and the estimated client value based on the proposal you've given them or the expected work we'll do within 12 months. You also need to put in where that client came from. Did they call up because they're on the website? Were they a referral from Dave down the road? Did they organically just walk past our office? Like whatever, however they heard about us, all that information goes in. And every single month in our management meeting or our director meeting, I run sales and marketing and that. So I have to report to my fellow directors where the new clients came from, what director they were allocated to, what value they brought in, and where they came from. And that decision-making power of knowing my numbers, that 45,000 was 44,900 to be precise, came through the door in September. It's why I sat there and went, I need support. Let's get an intern. Let's hire another, intermediate accountant, because I back us to know that that's the kind of numbers we're going to keep doing with the publicity that we're driving from what we do. But if we didn't track that, I'd be screwed. I learned the hard way from not tracking. So now it's about tracking that, and it's easy because you got to enter in the client's name, age, date of birth, tax file number. What's the little extra steps of entering in the date they became a client, how much they're worth to our firm, and where they came from. And the beauty of where they came from means at the end of the month, I look at that list and go, well, hey, shit, that person referred us a $12,000 client, send them a beautiful bottle of whiskey, because I know they're a whiskey drinker, and send them a hamper with that as well. And then that client messages going, hey, mate, thanks for the whiskey and the hamper. I've got a few more coming your way next month. Go,
Yeah, good.
beauty.
Good.
But I don't have to do that. Like, that's the admin team drive that. They've got a set list of what are our gifts, how do we get them delivered. It's all written down. So
yeah, and just on that, Derek, as well, I saw that, and again, depending on what you're using for CRM and so on, I know HubSpot, because we use HubSpot.
Yep.
HubSpot is now a partner of Xero as well. So there's a bit of an integration there with what HubSpot are doing. And HubSpot marketing CRM is actually free. So it's only if you go to different levels, you've got to pay a subscription, but that's something to consider as well. If you haven't got it, that's probably worth considering as well.
It doesn't matter
I use Method CRM, which is linked to QuickBooks.
Yep. And I guess, on Paul's message, regardless of the system you use, it's just recording that information and making it quick and easy for the team to do it, whether it's in a Excel, Google Sheet, in a CRM, no matter what it is, it's just making sure the importance of recording it is communicated to the team.
Yes.
I'm actually the worst at it. So now my team do it on behalf of me. They actually message me and go, Jace, you added that new client, you missed those steps. I go, no, I didn't miss those steps. I left those steps empty for you to fill in because I'm an idiot. So team have got my back.
And nowadays, what you mentioned before, the way, I wrote it down here, where you're using your Trello board, which is then talking to Slack, a lot of that can be automated.
And the other one that we put in, just as a tech tip on that note, because I missed it before, we were using DocuSign. And DocuSign was something years and years and years ago, I said to the firm where I was working, I'm like, we need DocuSign. Because I remember the case study of a client lived in the burbs, but they used the city accounting firm, and he had to drive into the city, try and find car parking, put a signature on a bit of paper, then drive home. I said to this firm, we've got to use DocuSign. And eventually it was put in. But now DocuSign's pricing has just gone through the bloody roof. Like, we'll end up paying like $24,000 for DocuSign at one point. Like, it was stupid. So we're currently trialing HelloSign, and HelloSign integrates with Slack and creates its own channel for communication in Slack. It's beautiful, looks great. Feedback so far from clients and the team is it's beautiful. So we'll actually ask our client, what was that experience like? What was that experience like versus the old way we asked you to sign something? Because we want to know before we invest in changing the model. But it's beautiful because I'll wake up in the morning and HelloSign will send a message saying, all of these things went out for signature yesterday. This is now how many signatures you're waiting on. Because one of the other things is, like, you can send stuff out for signature, and sure enough, it sits there saying hasn't been signed by a client, but you've got to actually like log in, go to the awaiting signing, have a look at the list. Every single day I get a Slack message telling me who still hasn't signed their package. And I know that then if I end up with a phone call to that client, I say, hey mate, I actually saw you haven't signed your package yet. Is there something you want to discuss? Oh no, you just missed the email. Cool, I'll re-ping it to you. Ping, client signs, workflow, job in, job out, money in the bank. So
wow.
HelloSign is we're very happy with that. Now again, that was a Greg thing. I can't take full credit for that because Greg was all over HelloSign.
Good, mate. Look, we've run out over time. So firstly, thank you. If anyone's got a quick question, I'm more than happy to take it. But we've given a lot of great little messages there. More importantly, thank you for being open and sharing. I think that's a really important part as we continue to sort of run with these sort of sessions. And I know it's only our second last before Christmas, but we run with these sessions to learn and to educate and to teach and share with other firms what other great firms are doing and the opportunity that you've had. So all these little things, even like a Hello Sign, I've never even heard of them, but firms can learn with that, and even Slack if you're using that to integrate. So Jason Robinson, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
I still can't believe we were due to catch up maybe 6 months ago, and we still haven't done that.
Assembly Ground, your favorite breakfast place?
That's where we were supposed to do it, and then it's like, bang, suddenly it's November 13, and that didn't happen. So, but we're reopened, so we'll definitely redo that. So, thanks again. Thanks for everyone for joining us. I might quickly, do you want me to sign off? Danny,
I was just going to remind everyone to keep an eye out on LinkedIn for our very special announcement we have for our Chewing the Accounting Fat guests. PJ mentioned earlier. So there's it's going to be a really big event and you can't miss out. So just keep an eye out, and I'll be sure to tag you guys.
Well, I'll tell you guys shortly. Okay, I'll just very, very quickly, I'm going to whisper it to you, okay?
You shouldn't be telling anyone, PJ.
Yeah, okay, but I'll tell them. Trent Ennis is confirmed. Okay, and the other big tech giant that I've got on, which I'm announcing next week, is Sam Ellett from Reckon APS. So again, two tech giants, two publicly listed companies, two CEOs that run their businesses very differently. Okay?
It's going to be very different to what we're used to. I think there's going to be some conflicting opinions on things, I would imagine.
Correct, and we're running it over a panel session, so very, very different again. So those of you that know Jason Cunningham, it's very difficult to get him to shut up sometimes. So I need to try and control him, which is tough. But get on board. It's November 27. It's 12:30 p.m. We'll get an invitation out to you. But again, to have access to those sort of people doesn't come along too often. So it's great to have both Trent and Sam joining us. But that's what's going to be dropped next week. So please make sure if you want to get involved, get a ticket and get involved. I reckon we'll have hundreds on that one.
I'll send you all out an invite anyway, so you cannot escape.
Jason,
thank you, Danielle.
Look forward to catching up with you very, very soon, mate. We'll definitely touch base and catch up for a brekkie or whatever it may be.
Sounds good, mate. Look forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Any questions, follow up, feel free to reach out. LinkedIn's not my friend, so jason@futureadvisory.com.au. If there's any follow-up questions, happy to chat. Cheers, guys.
And if you can't write
Thanks,
quick enough,
guys.
message me and I'll send you his email address.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.